Well, I appreciate the invitation today. My name is Mark West. I am running for U.S. House of Representatives in District 1. For those of you that have your little booklet, it is that part in red. 30 counties on the eastern side of the state of Arkansas. West Memphis, Batesville, Star City, Cabot, Blytheville, Osceola, Mountain Home, Mountain View, all those areas are covered in that district. So if you live in one of those areas, if you can, I'm going to linger around for a few minutes also. If you live in District 1, I'd love to meet you and talk to you and hear your story. So I'll linger around after I give my brief speech and you guys can share it with me. I didn't really prepare to talk about any policy or anything. I just want to introduce myself to you guys. This is my first race on this level. I'm a Southern Baptist pastor, but I pastor bivocationally. I work a full-time job as an office manager. We do a lot of heavy industrial type work across the country, and then I pastor a church. That's what I am, and that's where I come from. And I was born and raised in West Memphis, and I was first exposed to people with disability as a young child. I was in elementary school, and I had this best friend of mine named Joe, and his sister was deaf. So I learned a little bit of sign language. It's really rusty these days. I still remember my name was Mark, but that's all I can remember from those days, and the alphabet. But we learned sign language so we could communicate with her. I got into elementary school, and there was a guy named John. He had Down syndrome, but he absolutely loved basketball. And I loved playing basketball with him, and he actually was better at it than I was, but he was such a firecracker. He was always smiling, and he was always happy, and he just loved to get out there and play, and enjoy spending time with us in PE, and it was such a blessing to my life. And that's one of the things that I've learned from you guys, from people with disability, is that you're a blessing. People that have encountered my life have been a blessing to me. As I grew older, I met Jesus Christ. I became a Christian, and the first person to take me under his wing was a guy named Bill. I knew that Christians were supposed to go out and visit people and meet people, and this guy named Bill, and I don't remember exactly what his disability was, but it was one of those where your hand doesn't work and it's folded up in front of you. But he and I were visitation partners at church, and he's the first person that taught me how to live for Jesus. It was a man with a disability. So I was very offended when I saw a presidential candidate kind of mocking up somebody that had the same disability that Bill did, because Bill meant a lot to me. He taught me what faith was about. That faith wasn't about having the perfect voice. It wasn't about having the perfect look, but it was about having a heart that's available and a heart that's willing. And he had such a heart for God, and that so impressed me. And he's actually one of the reasons I wound up in ministry, because I wanted to help people with the same compassion that he had. He was somebody that to me seemed like he had every reason to be upset at the world and upset at people, and yet he wasn't. He loved people, and he was willing to go knock on doors for a church just to introduce people to Jesus Christ. And he taught me how valuable that was, how valuable people were. And I didn't realize that all this was preparing me for my own son. My son was born, I believe, you'd have to ask my wife, she remembers all the numbers. I don't do the numbers well. But he was born around 6 weeks premature, and he was born with a midline birth defect. So we've had all the developmental delays, and he's got a slight disability where he's been behind with school. We've actually had to hold him back a year because he just can't understand the school. We've had him tested, and they're like, well, he shows a lot of dyslexia stuff, but he's not far enough down the chart that he qualifies for anything. So everything you do, you're going to have to do yourself. So know when I leave here, I go home at night and I do homework with my son, who has a learning disability, every night, and we have to work with teachers, and we have to be very involved to understand the challenges that you're facing when you're trying to do this life and just have a normal life, but you've got those disabilities that stand as a barrier in the way of that normal life. But God has truly blessed me through people with disabilities, and I hope that if I do manage to get elected, if the voters trust me to go and represent them in Washington, I want you guys to know that when issues come up that deal with disability, that background that I've shared with you today is going to be with me when I go. The lives that have impacted my life, that have made my life more valuable, those lives go with me in my decisions. And as I said, I appreciate any of you guys that are in 1st District, Arkansas. If you're going to vote, vote for Mark West. I'm the Libertarian candidate on the ballot. Thank you guys so much. I've learned so much. Your stories are awesome, by the way. I loved hearing your stories today. That was awesome. Thank you.
All righty. Another speaker? Come on down.